Welcome dear students. Now we are going to perform pre-formulation study of paracetamol. Drug profile of paracetamol. Synonym acetaminophen. Description: it is white crystalline powder. Chemical formula is C8H9NO2 and the IUPAC name of paracetamol is 4-hydroxy acetinolide. Molecular weight is 151.2 gram. Solubility of paracetamol: sparingly soluble in water, freely soluble in alcohol like methanol, ethanol, very slightly soluble in ether and in methylene chloride. Melting point of paracetamol is 169 degrees Celsius. Paracetamol, it is also known as acetaminophen, is a pain reliever and a fever reducer. The exact mechanism of action of paracetamol is not known, and indications in which paracetamol is used to treat many conditions such as headache, muscle aches, arthritis, backache, toothaches, colds and fevers. It relieves pain in mild arthritis but has no effect on the underlying inflammation and swelling of the joint. In the graphics at the right hand side of the slide, it indicates that paracetamol inhibits the prostaglandin synthesis by inhibiting peroxidase site, that is prostaglandin H2 synthetase. Overdose: if the paracetamol is taken more than the recommended dose, this may cause liver damage. In the aim of these pre-formulation properties of paracetamol, we have to determine the flow properties of paracetamol in section A, and in section B we are going to develop the calibration curve, that is UV analytical method of the paracetamol in pH 5.8 phosphate buffer. As per IP, we are going to perform the dissolution test in pH 5.8 phosphate buffer. Hence, we want to develop the calibration curve of the paracetamol in pH 5.8 phosphate buffer. In the part A or section A of this experiment, flow properties of paracetamol need to be determined, as we are going to develop the oral formulation of the paracetamol, that is tablet, and to compress the tablet, the powder should possess good or excellent flow properties. So let's discuss what are flow properties and what is their influence on the manufacturing steps. So powders may be free flowing or cohesive, that is sticky. Many common manufacturing problems are due to powder flow when powder transfer through large equipment such as hopper. So hopper is the important part or feeding mechanism of the rotary tablet press. Uneven powder flow is due to excess entrapped air within powders. So powder, one of the reason behind poor powder flow is excess entrapped air may be there in the powder and which affects the flow properties. Another reason is that uneven powder flow. So what happens if the powder flow is uneven or poor? Then this may result into capping and capping or lamination. That is, the upper part or crown of the tablet is removed from the tablet, or the tablet may be separated into the number of layers. So this is the capping and lamination respectively. Uneven powder flow increase the particles friction with die wall. So die, it is the tool of the tablet press, rotary tablet press, causing lubrication problems and increase dust contamination risk during powder transfer. Then powder storage, which for example result in caking tendencies within a vial or bag after shipping or storage time. So this may be applicable to the powder dosage form. Separation of small quantity of the powder from the bulk specifically just before the creation of individual doses, such as during tableting, encapsulation and vial filling, which affect the weight uniformity of the dose, or there may be under or over dosage. So the powder flow affect the feel of the powder in the dye during tablet compression. Parameters to evaluate the flow properties or flow ability of a powder. So the first parameter is Carr's index or compressibility index. Second parameter is Hausner's ratio, and the third parameter is angle of repose. To determine Carr's index or compressibility index, we need the determination of bulk density and tap density. So a volume of powder is filled into a graduated glass cylinder and repeatedly tapped for known duration. The volume of powder after tapping is measured. So here at the bottom of the slide, bulk density apparatus is there. So in the bulk density apparatus, we put the graduated cylinder, and before putting this graduated cylinder in the bulk density apparatus, first we determine the bulk volume of the powder. Means known amount of the powder is filled into the measuring cylinder and just the volume is noted down, that is the bulk volume. Then it is kept into the bulk density apparatus and it is repeatedly tapped for known duration, and this gives the tap volume. So after certain time or particular tapping, particular number of tappings, the cylinder is removed from the bulk density apparatus and the volume is noted down, that is tapped volume. So using the readings of bulk volume and tap volume, the bulk density and tap density of the formulation, that is either powder or granules, is determined. Then Carr's index is the percent index, that is, and it is calculated using 100 multiplied by tap density minus bulk density divided by tap density. To determine the tap volume of the paracetamol, first the bulk volume of the paracetamol is determined by transferring the 20 gram of paracetamol powder into measuring cylinder, and this is 32 calculation of bulk density and tap density. So bulk density is equal to weight upon bulk volume, that is equal to, just in the previous video we performed the experiment, and in that experiment the bulk volume was found to be 32. So the value of bulk density is 0.625. The same amount of powder is then tapped, just we watch in the video, and the tap volume was found to be 22 ml. So the tap density is 0.909. Be remember, the tap density is always greater than bulk density, as the weight in both calculation of bulk density and tap density is same or constant, that is 20, 10, whatever it may be taken. But the bulk volume and tap volume is different, and that's why the different densities, that is the bulk density and tap density. As bulk density, it is the inverse of bulk volume. That's why when the bulk volume is greater, bulk density is less, like that. And also the density, it is inversely proportional to the volume. That's why tap volume is less than the bulk volume, and hence tap density is always greater than bulk density, but tap volume is always less than bulk volume. So we remember this concept. Then the calculation of Carr's index or compressibility index using values of tap density and bulk density, which are just determined and calculated. So that is 100 multiplied by 0.909 minus 0.625 divided by 0.909. So 100 multiplied by 0.31243, that is 31.243. And after getting this value of Carr's index, what we can interpret about the powder flow. So this table will help us to interpret about the powder flow. This table represents the relationship between powder flow ability and the percent compressibility. When excellent flow is there, or vice versa, when the percent compressibility is found in between 5 to 15, then we can conclude the powder possesses excellent flow. When compressibility index is 16 to 18, then we say good flow. If it is 19 to 21, then fair flow. 22 to 35, then poor flow. Very poor, that is 36 to 40. And if the percent compressibility index is greater than 40, then we can conclude the powder has extremely poor flow properties. So let's see what compressibility index we determine by carrying out the experiment. So it is 31.243. So it ranges between 22 to 35. Hence, our paracetamol powder has poor flow properties. The next parameter to know about the flow properties of the powder, it is Hausner's ratio, and whatever the calculations are there, tap density and bulk density values are there, that can be utilized to determine the Hausner's ratio. So Hausner's ratio is equal to tap density upon poured or bulk density. So bulk density is also known as poured density, as it is determined from the bulk volume, and the bulk volume is determined just by pouring the known amount of the powder into the cylinder, and that's why known as poured density also. Hausner's ratio was related to interparticle friction. So in this slide, along with the formula to determine Hausner's ratio, some illustration is given that what value of Hausner's ratio represents what type of flow. So when Hausner's ratio value is less than 1.25, it indicates good flow and it is proportional to the 20% of the Carr's index. The powder with low interparticle friction such as coarse spheres, they have good flow. So granules may come under this. Then values greater than 1.5 indicates poor flow and it is proportional to the 33% of the Carr's or compressibility index. So how these can be correlated, that is the Hausner's ratio and Carr's or compressibility index, as both of these Hausner's ratio as well as Carr's index are calculated or determined using the values of tap density and bulk density. So more cohesive, less free-flowing powder such as flex disperses values or these have values greater than 1.5 and hence poor flow. When the Hausner's ratio value is in between 1.25 and 1.5, then these powders are with poor flow, but the powder flow can be improved by the addition of glidant such as talc. Then when Hausner's ratio is greater than 1.5, then addition of glidant does not improve the flow properties of the powder. So let's calculate Hausner's ratio. Calculation of Hausner's ratio, that is equal to tap density upon pore or bulk density. So tap density, it was found 0.909 divided by bulk density, that is 0.625. It is equal to 1.4544. So the Hausner's ratio value is between 1.25 and 1.5. So addition of glidant may improve the flow properties of the powder. Then the next parameter is angle of repose. This also helps to determine the flow properties of powder. The sample is poured onto the horizontal surface and the angle of the resulting pyramid is measured. So here funnel is there, which is located with the help of tripod stand or any other at the constant height, and the powder is transferred into the funnel to flow. So after the powder is transferred from the funnel, it forms a heap. The radius of this heap as well as height of this heap is determined. As we come to know the height and radius of the heap, we are able to determine the angle of repose. The user normally selects the funnel orifice through which the powder flows slowly and reasonably constantly. So calculation of angle of repose, that is theta, is equal to tan inverse h upon r. So let's watch the video to determine the height as well as radius of the paracetamol powder.
Angle of repose is next parameter to determine the flow properties of paracetamol. To determine the angle of repose, the 20 gram weighed paracetamol is transferred through the funnel, which is fixed at position, and the angle of repose theta is equal to tan inverse h upon r. So h is the height of this heap and r is the radius of the heap.
So height of the heap was found to be 1.8 and the radius is 4.1, that is equal to 23.70 degrees. So angle of repose is 23.70 degree and it indicates good flow. So here is the interpretation, that is, if the angle of repose is less than 20, then excellent flow. Angle of repose between 20 to 30, then good flow. So by experimental analysis, we found that the angle of repose of the paracetamol powder is 23.70. So it has good flow. Then angle of repose between, if it is found to be in between 30 to 40, then passable flow, and angle of repose if it is greater than 40, then poor flow. The rough or more irregular the surface of the particles, the higher will be the angle of repose. So to compress the paracetamol tablets, we determine various parameters like Carr's index, Hausner's ratio, and angle of repose. From Carr's index and Hausner's ratio, we found that the powder possesses poor flow, whereas angle of repose represents that the powder possesses good flow. But we need excellent flow. That's why there is need to form the granules of the paracetamol to improve the flow properties of the paracetamol powder. So the factors affecting the flow properties of powder are particle size and distribution, particle shape and texture, surface forces. So all these parameters can be improved by granulation. So how flow properties can be improved? By alteration of particle size and distribution, alteration of particle shape and texture, alteration of surface forces, and these can be achieved by granulation, that is either by dry or wet granulation of powder before compression, and these help to improve the flow properties. Additionally, we also add formulation additive, that is flow activators like magnesium stearate and talc, and in this way we achieve the excellent flow properties of the paracetamol by converting it into the granules. Part B in the pre-formulation study of paracetamol is preparation of standard calibration curve of paracetamol in pH 5.8 phosphate buffer. As per Indian Pharmacopoeia, the dissolution study of paracetamol tablet is to be carried out in pH 5.8 phosphate buffer. Considering that we are going to develop the analytical method for the determination of paracetamol using UV spectrophotometer, and that's why we are preparing the or developing the calibration curve to generate the equation to determine the concentration by measuring the absorbance. So apparatus and chemicals required in that instrument: UV spectrophotometer, apparatus, volumetric flask 10 ml, 100 ml, 250 ml, then beakers, pipette 1 ml, 5 ml, 10 ml, weighing balance. Then the chemicals required are paracetamol, potassium dihydrogen phosphate, sodium hydroxide, and distilled water. Here potassium dihydrogen phosphate and sodium hydroxide are the constituents of buffer, and distilled water is used as a solvent. To prepare the pH 5.8 phosphate buffer, first we have to prepare the 0.2 molar potassium dihydrogen phosphate and 0.2 molar NaOH solution. So the procedure for the preparation of 0.2 molar potassium dihydrogen phosphate solution is: dissolve 27.214 gram of potassium dihydrogen phosphate in distilled water and make up the volume to produce 1000 ml with distilled water. Then 0.2 molar NaOH solution is prepared by dissolving 8 gram of sodium hydroxide in distilled water and again make up the volume up to 1000 ml with distilled water. So once the 0.2 molar potassium dihydrogen phosphate solution and 0.2 molar sodium hydroxide solution is prepared, the composition to prepare or to develop pH 5.8 phosphate buffer is that 50 ml of 0.2 molar potassium dihydrogen phosphate is to be added in 200 volumetric flasks, and to this, according to this table, our pH is, we want to develop the buffer solution of pH 5.8. That's why the required volume of NaOH is 3.6. So the pH 5.8 phosphate buffer solution is prepared by placing 50 ml of 0.2 molar potassium dihydrogen phosphate previously prepared in 200 ml volumetric flask. Then 3.6 ml of 0.2 molar sodium hydroxide is added, and then the remaining volume is of water. So 200 ml volume is made up with the addition of water. So this table represents the proportion of NaOH required or volume of NaOH required to produce different pH phosphate buffer. So everywhere the volume of 0.2 molar potassium dihydrogen phosphate is constant, that is 50 ml, but the volume of 0.2 molar NaOH differs as the pH differs. That is, for 6 pH phosphate buffer we require 5.6, for 6.2 8.1, for 6.4 11.6, for 6.6 16.4, for 6.8 22.4. Means if you want to prepare 6.8 pH phosphate buffer, then take 50 ml of the 0.2 molar potassium dihydroxide plus 22.4 ml of the NaOH, and after that make up the volume to up to 200 ml with the help of distilled water. So likewise, different pH phosphate buffer solutions can be prepared. So once the phosphate buffer of required pH is prepared, we have to prepare the different dilutions of the paracetamol which are required for the development of calibration curve. So for this, 100 milligram of paracetamol is dissolved in 100 ml methanol, as paracetamol is sparingly soluble in water. So when 100 milligram of paracetamol, so it equals to the 1 lakh of microgram. So 100 multiplied by 1000, so it is converted into the microgram, and it is diluted to 100 ml. Means these 0 if we cancel, then this become 1000 microgram per ml concentration solution. Then this 1000 microgram per ml stock solution, we are going to pipette out 10 ml of solution, and again we are going to dilute to the 100 ml. So this will give, and this dilution is now made in pH 5.8 phosphate buffer. So 10 ml of 1000 microgram per ml solution, so its strength is 10,000, and when it is diluted to 100 ml, then again it is converted into the 100 microgram per ml solution. From this 100 microgram per ml solution, we are again going to pipette out 10 ml and diluted to 100 ml with the help of pH 5.8 phosphate buffer solution. So 10 ml of 100 microgram per ml solution, it represents 1000 microgram per ml strength. When this 1000 microgram is diluted to 100 ml using phosphate buffer, this gives the solution, the resultant solution is having strength 10 microgram per ml. Then this 10 microgram per ml solution is now used as a stock solution for further dilutions. So from this 10 microgram, if we pipette out 1 microgram and dilute to 10 ml, then this will give 1 microgram per ml. When we take 2 ml of this and dilute to 10 ml, this will give 2 microgram per ml. 3 ml when pipette out and diluted to 10 ml, then this will give 3 microgram per ml. In this way, we prepare the 9 microgram per ml strength solution from 1 microgram per ml to 9 microgram per ml. 10 microgram is already available. So we have to take it as it is for the determination or measurement of the absorbance. So be remember, the dilutions are made with pH 5.8 phosphate buffer solution. Now watch the video how we prepare the dilutions and how we measure the absorbance using UV spectrophotometer. Initialize the double beam UV spectrophotometer and do baseline correction. Run the higher strength solution, that is 10 microgram per ml, to determine the wavelength. Measure the absorbance of the dilutions using pH 5.8 phosphate buffer solution as blank or reference using double beam UV spectrophotometer. Plot the absorbance versus concentration curve once we get the absorbance readings, and subject the data in this range to linear regression analysis to know the equation and regression of calibration curve of paracetamol in pH 5.8 phosphate buffer. 100 milligram of paracetamol is weighed and transferred to volumetric flask.
Stock solution of paracetamol is prepared in 100 ml methanol, as paracetamol is sparingly soluble in water, and now the dilutions of paracetamols are made into pH 5.8 phosphate buffer. So we are going to take 10 ml of ml of stock solution is pipette out. And dilution is made with pH 5.8 phosphate buffer. Now this is 1000 microgram per ml. From this we prepare 100 microgram per ml. Again I am going to pipette out 10 ml from this and dilute it to 100. So and from this 10 microgram per ml solution I am going to prepare various dilutions, that is from 1 microgram per ml to 10 microgram per ml. ml from this 100 microgram per ml solution is pipette out. I am now going to dilute the 10 ml of this 100 microgram per ml solution with pH 5.8 phosphate buffer to produce the final solution having 10 microgram per ml strength. While diluting the solution, the lower meniscus should touch this line marking on the volumetric flask for accuracy in the results. This is the stock solution, and now 1 ml of this stock solution I am going to pipette out and dilute it to 10 ml, so that will produce 1 microgram. Again 2 ml of this will be pipette out and diluted to 10 ml, so that will give 2 microgram per ml like this. Desiccant bag is removed from the UV cabinet, and after initialization of the UV, now we are going to select the mode menu. So as we are preparing the calibration curve, developing the calibration curve, the UV analytical method for paracetamol. So first we go into the spectrum. So once we are able to know the wavelength of the paracetamol at pH 5.8 phosphate buffer, then we will go to the photometric mode for the actual absorbance of the paracetamol at different, by taking the different concentrations, that is 1 microgram per ml to 10 microgram per ml. So now I am going to select the 2, that is spectrum. Now the scan range for the spectrum is 400 nanometer to 200 nanometer, and the absorbance range, it should be 0 to 1 angstrom, and the scan speed is fast, scan pitch auto, number of scans 1, display mode overlay, and the auto print off. You can take the print here, so that at that time you put here on. So now we are going to do the base correction. So for base correction, so here base correction is there, sample, and then measure scan is there, and save parameter. So for base correction I select F1. So baseline is correcting. So for this I have put the sample reference as well as sample as a solvent, that is pH 5. In reference as well as in sample, solvent is kept. And now base correction, baseline is correcting. To determine the wavelength, here higher concentration sample, that is 10 microgram per ml, is kept at the test. The cuvette should be put like that, so the transparent part should be such that it will pass the UV rays. So now we have to run the spectrum. So after putting the concentration, I press the button start, and now the UV spectrophotometer is measuring the wavelength of the sample. This is the spectrum of paracetamol in pH 5.8 phosphate buffer. So the spectrum is saved with the file name PARC, that is PARC 14, today's date. Save. Destination. Enter. Now we have to determine the peak wavelength. So here are the 1, 4 operations, 2 derivative, 3 is the peak, 4th is the area calculation, 5 is point peak, and the 6 is data print. So we will press the button 3 to know the peak wavelength, and peak wavelength it is found, that is 243.10, having absorbance 0.743, and it is as per the specifications in Indian Pharmacopoeia, In the Indian Pharmacopoeia it is given 243, so plus minus 0.1 is acceptable. After knowing the wavelength, now we go to the mode return, and then now the menu, that is one photometric. In that one lambda max we are going to set. So to set the lambda max we are pressing the button go to wavelength. To set the lambda max, that is 243.1, go to wavelength button, and here we are going to put the wavelength, that is 243.1, enter. So now the wavelength changes to 243.1 nanometer. Now the UV spectrophotometer is ready for taking the absorbance of remaining concentrations. The reading of concentration 1 microgram per ml is 0.435, absorbance at 243.1 nanometer. Second sample, that is 20 microgram
The readings of calibration curve are imported into the Excel sheet. So here it represents concentration microgram per ml, that is 1 to 10, and the respective absorbance of that concentration. So to know the linear regression analysis, select it and then click on insert. In insert, click on the insert scatter XY bubble chart here, and you get the calibration curve. Select any one point and click on right click on that point. So once you right click the point, go to the option add trend line. In add trend line, tick here, that is display equation on chart and display R squared value on chart. So here it represents the equation, that is y is equal to mx plus c. Why we determine this equation, or why we are going to why we develop the calibration curve. So once we get this equation, so in the dissolution test, we perform the dissolution test, we sample the dissolution test samples at particular time intervals, and we will be going to determine the absorbance of that particular sample using UV spectrophotometer. So absorbance is nothing but the Y. So once we come to know the Y, we put the value of Y here, and now we know M, we know C, we want to determine the X. So X is the concentration. So doing particular calculations, we come to know X means what amount of paracetamol is released at that particular time interval. Because the absorbance which we determine of that particular sample, we know the sampling interval. So in this way, this equation is useful for the determination of X, that is concentration or amount of drug release at that particular time interval, and then we can plot the graph time versus concentration or percent release. Regression value, R square value, it should be equal to 1 or nearly equal to 1, so that this will help that the method develop is valid one. So this you can remove. And now the calibration curve is ready. This is the linear regression analysis. This is the linear regression analysis result of calibration curve of paracetamol in pH 5.8 phosphate buffer. Result: the parameters which are evaluated are Carr's index, Hausner's ratio, angle of repose. These are the respective values of these parameters. Then Carr's index and Hausner's ratio represents poor flow, whereas angle of repose shows good flow. Then the analytical method is developed for paracetamol, and this is the calibration curve equation and the regression value. So UV analytical method is developed. Question bank: define angle of repose. What are its uses in the pharmaceutical field? Discuss the factors affecting flow of powders. List the 4 methods to improve the flow properties of powders and granules. Higher angle of repose of the granule indicates higher bulk density of the granules, higher porosity of the granules, roughness of granule surface, and smoothness of granule surface. Excellent flow is observed when angle of repose is between 41 to 45 degrees, 56 to 65 degrees, more than 66 degrees, and 25 to 30 degrees. So somewhere these ranges may differ from one book to another book or from one site to another site. But we have to select the appropriate option from this. Poor flow of powder is observed when Hausner's ratio is more than 1.25. Hausner's ratio is less than 1.25, when it is equal to 1.25 and none of the above. Carr's index is used to predict viscosity, porosity, flow property, and ruggedity. Thank you.